I think I may have found the best looking all-white motherboard. This is the AORUS X870 Pro ICE gaming motherboard from Gigabyte. This is my first Gigabyte board to be featured on this channel. Thank you Gigabyte HQ for providing me with this opportunity to look at your new all-white motherboard. Take a look at this all-white board, all-white box. AORUS Pro ICE. Alright, so nothing special inside. This cardboard here. Check it out. This is the board itself. Let's just put it one corner first. Very nice. We have a fully white pair of SATA cable. Fits the white theme very well. I like this very much. Their new Wi-Fi 7 antenna, also white. It comes with the easy plug and remove system. Capital E, capital Z, easy. Unfortunately, I think this guy is not magnetic. I wish this was magnetic. So this is the Gigabyte G connector. This is for your front panel connectors to make it a lot easier to plug in your front panel connectors so that you don't have to like individually plug in, especially in the case where it's very hard to reach. Plug all your cables to this G connector and plug this onto the front panel header on the motherboard. Quintessential AORUS badge and a bunch of documentations. So you have stickers, colored white. Yeah, this is probably like a warranty guide, and it gives you the entire range of the X870 boards that Gigabyte has. The quick installation guide, multiple languages. Lastly, we have, I think, the temperature sensor to be inserted on the motherboard. Okay, so this Pro ICE motherboard, as you can see, it is almost completely white. From the back I/O, M.2 heat shields, PCIe slots, even things like the 8-pin as well as the 24-pin connectors. This board will look really good in an all-white PC. There are actually quite a few RGB accents on this motherboard. I wasn't expecting it. There are accents on the I/O area as well as the chipset area. So this Pro ICE being an X870, of course it must have USB 4 ports. This board comes with two USB 4.0 ports and also a big bunch of USB ports. Let's go through each of them. So starting at the back I/O, besides the two USB 4 ports, it has four USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, three Type A ports. At the front, it has two USB 2.0 ports, two USB 3 ports and one Type-C port. Let's also take this chance to take a look at what other things we have at the back I/O. So we have this Q Flash Plus button for your BIOS flashback, HDMI ports, no display ports because you have USB 4, 2.5G LAN ports, and because this board supports Wi-Fi 7, to install the Wi-Fi 7 antenna, very simple, just plug it in. Done. To remove the Wi-Fi 7 antenna, just pull it out. Alright, that requires more force than I expected. Below the Wi-Fi 7 and LAN ports, we have the standard audio ports, the line out, mic, as well as an SPDIF out port. For a board of this class, I like to say that the VRF heatsinks are of a good height. There is no need for a very thick heatsink. This board supports Ryzen 7000, 8000 as well as 9000 CPUs. But for me, it's my first time seeing a board supporting up to 256 gigs of DDR5 RAM. Yes, you can have 4 sticks of 64 gig modules on this motherboard. A gaming motherboard that supports 256 gigs, wow, who knows what will happen in the future? Maybe 1 terabyte. One thing I like to point out is I like how all of the ports, connectors are very nicely labeled, easier to read off on a motherboard. I like to point out especially the one for the front panel connector. Sometimes I do forget how to connect the front panels. So the diagram here is a lot easier to read compared to other boards. Thank you very much. Also very nicely labeled on every header. This is the CPU optional, CPU fan, system fan header. The power and reset buttons are over here in a very nice location. Nothing is blocked. You can easily access this. I use it pretty often to test my hardware, especially for the power button. If I just want to pre-test this board or perhaps pre-test your components before putting it into a case, these two buttons come pretty handy. So next to it, we have one ARGB header over here. I don't know what to call it here, but I'll just call it the diagnostic code and the diagnostic LEDs. The diagnostic LEDs are also pretty cool. They are very well labeled, and instead of one line, they come in a square formation. Yes, it's a lot easier to read. So going down, we have the white 24-pin connector. This is the standard USB Type-C. Flanking it, we have two fan connectors, but are labeled as pump fans. I believe these two can be used as front intake fans as well as pump. I'm not sure why we want to have two pump connectors, but it's just telling you that in case you ever need two pumps, you can do so. But most people, I think, will just use this as one of them maybe for the pump and one of them for your front intake. Or you can just use the one over here. There are two temperature sensors over here, EC1 and EC2. 4 SATA ports. This one is very, very cool, very interesting. At Computex 2024, Gigabyte was showcasing a lot of their builds with screens showing off very nice GIFs and images. This is a special front HDMI port that gives resolutions of up to 1080p 30Hz. So you plug this in if you want to have a small size screen to maybe showcase the PC's temperatures, the fan temperatures, CPU temperatures, or have like pretty cool animations inside your complete build. The next one, you have the USB 3, front panel connectors, 3 more system fans over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This board has 6 fan headers. This is another USB 3. These two are USB 3. This to USB 2. This is a TPM. You most likely won't use it because you tend to use the TPM on the CPU. I'm not sure about this one. RGB header. 2 more ARGB headers and the front audio. There are some things I'd like to point out to you in case you want to know. You may be thinking, where is the center mounting hole? Well, basically it's blocked under this M.2 heat shield. So you have to remove it. Yep, this board is also almost toolless. Very easy to remove the heat shield. Just unplug this guy and pull it off. Yep. The mounting hole is over here. The same spot, just that you have to remove this guy first before you can screw this motherboard onto the case. Another thing which I like to question Gigabyte is the location of the CMOS battery. After looking for a while, I realized that it's actually hidden under the chipset cover. It's actually over here. I think there is a way to remove the chipset cover because I think there are screws at the bottom, but it seems like it's going to be quite a pain to put back the chipset cover, so I'm not going to remove it. And here's hoping that there is no need to pop out the CMOS battery ever on this motherboard. So yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, now that I have popped off the first M.2 cover, let's also do the same for the second one. It's the same thing, this latch here, just put it out and it comes off very nicely. To put it back in, you just need to slide these prongs onto the M.2 slots and you'll be done with it. Make sure to remember to always remove this film first before putting the cover back on the SSD. It's pretty interesting to know that AORUS has given you 3 Gen 5 slots, and they also make it very easy for you to find out which slots they are because each of the Gen 5 slots are clearly labeled Gen 5. This is a Gen 5 slot X4, Gen 5 X4, Gen 5 X4. This guy is a Gen 4 X4. But of course, nothing is free in this world. Something's got to give, you know? Let me tell you in a while. Gigabyte has pre-installed 4 lockers for you. 3 of them are for the 2280 SSDs and 1 of them is for 2210 SSDs. The way to install SSD is also very simple. Just plug it in, turn this turnstile and lock it in. Yep. This slot also has its own film. Remove it first before putting the M.2 and the heat shield. Just stick it out, put it, and you're locked. So what has got to give? The Gen 5 M.2 slots share the same lanes as the Gen 5 PCI slots. If you ever use any of these Gen 5 M.2 slots, these PCI slots 5.0 X16 will run at half speed, giving you 5.0 X8. The best option, of course, is to use this 5.0 X16 slot for your GPU and this slot to give you the best configurations. Both your GPU and your SSD will run at a full speed. So this slot is 4.0 X4, 3.0 X4. So you can put either your, I don't know, capture card for this one, maybe a Wi-Fi card or audio card. Let's put in some parts for this Pro ICE motherboard. I've got the Ryzen 9600X. I like that the CPU socket cover is also white, even though you have to remove it after you put in this. Yeah, it's a nice touch. Even the retention brackets are also white. Yep. Just going to very gently pop it in. Don't want to bend any pins. Yep. Okay, close it up. The socket cover was pop off. And you're installed. Let's pop in the RAM. So you pull this down. So I'm kind of starting to like this pair of RAM. These are from KingBank, 6800 MHz and C34. Too bad it's not white though. Done. Okay, done. Alright tech people, we are now inside the BIOS. I am not sure if this is the new BIOS, but you can see it's all white to fit the Pro ICE theme. I'm sorry if it's a bit hard to read because of the lighting and because it's all white, but you can see your board's information, what CPU you have, what SSD you have. You can easily tune your fans here. You can turn on the Expo or XMP for a RAM over here. And there's this thing called DDR5 Auto Booster and the regular XMP and Expo for files. There's also this high bandwidth support, low latency support if you want to turn it on. Not sure what it does, but you can do so. Over here, quick access, you can go to Q Flash. You can see what's your your RAM's SPD info. Resizable bar is always on, ERP is off, CSM is off, and fast boot is disabled. But let's now go on to the advanced mode where we see more stuff. I'm just going to on XMP. The rest I'm not going to touch for now. Over here you can see that discrete USB 4 features. Here you can change some of the settings you want for the USB 4 ports, USB 4 Thunderbolt boot delay timing if you want to that. So from here you can also see that the smart fan, the interface has changed. It's a lot easier to read. Right now everything is much bigger, much more clear. You can set control modes, stop modes, fan modes. You can turn on fail warning if, for example, your fan is failing or you forget to plug in your fan. I think this will sound out if there is something wrong with your CPU fan. Unfortunately, Gigabyte hasn't come out with their own version of the motherboard mapping, so hopefully one day we can see that across their motherboards. Okay, so what do I think about this motherboard? So as I mentioned earlier, this is a very nice board. I like the all-white aesthetic. It will definitely look very good in an all-white build like this. If you're ever wondering about the performance for USB 4 and the X870 chipset, you can refer to the video done by Kid Guru Tech. Liu has done pretty good benchmarks for USB 4 and the X870E chipset. But that said, I don't think this board will be very affordable. If you don't need USB 4, the host of Gen 5 slots and perhaps Wi-Fi 7 for now, you can refer to the X6 boards from Gigabyte. But if you want to be very new, very forward-looking, this close to all-white motherboard is perfection. So if you like my overview of this board, make sure to smash the like button and do watch the other X8 board which I've done. So make sure to come back to my channel for more tech content.